Welcome to the Construction Disruption Podcast, where we uncover the future of design, building, and remodeling.
I'm Todd Miller of Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building materials. Today, my co-host is Seth Heckman. Hi, Seth. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Hey, I got a question for you. You have a dog at home, don't you?
I do.
I know. You got Roscoe the dog. So I have to tell you something. Your veterinarian will probably never tell you this, but if Roscoe is ever running a fever, you need to get some mustard because it's the best thing for a hot dog. Okay.
That wasn't one of your finest, though I agree only mustard should be put on a hot dog.
Well, I
never
agree with
ketchup.
that. Yeah, the spicier mustard, the better, too. So, hey, are you good to go? Oh, let's let our audience know we are doing challenge words. So each Seth and I and our guest, soon to be revealed, have been given a challenge word that we are challenged to work into the conversation somehow. So you, the listening audience, can be listening for any unusual words or phrases we might use, and you might think, aha, I wonder if that was the challenge word. But maybe we'll trick you and we'll just say something really stupid anyway. So anyway, you good to go, Seth?
Yep. Let's get going.
Well, our featured guest today is no stranger to pretty much anyone in the home improvement and construction industry, it seems. Through his business efforts as well as his podcasting and social media, which have absolutely been voluminous in recent years, and now his new book, this gentleman is, like I said, just everywhere recently. Our guest today is none other than Randy Chaffee of Source One Marketing and ibuyfromrandy.com. A manufacturer's representative known for the care, help, and attention he provides to his customers, Randy is well loved and respected in the construction field. Randy, welcome to Construction Disruption.
Oh, Todd, Seth, that was great. It's almost like I wrote that or something. That was brilliant.
Yeah, you might have. No. I always pick on everyone and write it myself. So
I know you. I appreciate that. The kind words, and I appreciate it. And it's great to be on. I've known you guys for a number of years now, and
we certainly have.
Myriad of years.
Myriad of years.
Could that be the word? Don't tell
you never know.
You never know.
We'll reveal at the end of the show.
We will. But a myriad of years, and those are kind words because it's exactly the way I feel about you guys. So I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you greatly and have enjoyed our relationship, that's for sure. So let's go ahead and dig into it. So you've been around the industry quite a number of years, and your first book is hitting the stores here very shortly, probably about the time this episode is released, titled Asphalt and Algorithms, a Road Warrior's Playbook for Winning Results in the Hybrid Sales Arena. Your book tells a bit about your life story and gives great advice to those looking for success in sales. Maybe I'm getting the cart before the horse here, but tell us what inspired and prompted you to write a book.
Well, I appreciate it. It's funny. My editor and my marketing team asked me that question well after I was into the book, and it was real quick and simple answer. The very most important reason, guys, was to honor my dad. I talk a lot about my dad in the book. The first 2 or 3 chapters are very focused on growing up on the farm. I was an only child, adopted, and I was 3 days old. I refer to that as bought at the baby store, and it must have been a sale day, but what it is, right? But and so we lived 3.5 miles out of a small town of 1,201 people, and so my dad was everything, as most dads are. But I mean, in my world, everything. I just who I hung with every day, and a hero. And so we spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time getting lessons that I didn't really want at the time. And did not appreciate at the time. Unfortunately, probably didn't appreciate him until after he was gone. He's been gone 30 years now. And someday, I try to be a really, really good boy so that I can go hang with him again, right? But until then, the best option I have right now to pay him back a little bit is to do a book that I can dedicate to him. So that is the first reason. And I say this, and I mean it, but if I print one book and it sits on my coffee table and that's it, that's okay. you're right, that's a success because I did it for him. But beyond that, the secondary thing is, and probably close to as important, not near, well, okay, that's not fair. Not nearly as important to that because that's pretty important to me, but is, as you had mentioned, I've been in this industry for, I spilled the beans with our mutual friend Heidi Ellsworth on one of her podcasts a while back that I've been fibbing to the world a little bit because I still use the hashtag of 4+ decades, which is accurate, but it's technically 5. I've been doing this thing forever. And
Wow.
so you didn't need the wow wasn't necessary, Todd.
Well, the problem is my number is just about the same as yours, Randy. So
exactly,
you're quite okay.
But through that time, had a lot of help, a lot of mentors, people that never intended to be mentors, didn't set out to be mentors, probably wouldn't even consider themselves having been mentors. And I just felt like I hit a point in my life where I learned some things for the first 45 years of my sales world, of the old school way of doing things. And I loved it. I got juiced over it. I feel like I've become pretty good at it. But then I learned something new in the last 5 or 6 years in the whole virtual digital way that what we're doing right now. And I thought, you know what? I need to start giving back to an industry that's been very good to me. I've been blessed to be in. That's why I get involved with some of the boards that I'm on, like the NFBA and the BFBA, some of those things, not for any reason other than I truly, truly want to just give back because it's the right thing to do. And so I felt like writing this book would help me, maybe help a guy or gal or two out there somewhere wandering around, whether it's in our industry or out of the industry. Sales is still sales. It's still, at the end of the day, there's a person, whatever their sales title is, and a person, whatever their buying title is, but it's still two people that's got to build a relationship and have confidence with each other. And so I decided I'd write this book to be able to try to give back and help. Thirdly, I just want to be an author.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's cool.
And fourthly, I've been doing, and lastly, I know you're saying lucky, hopeful, hope so, hope he's done. I wanted to, I want to do more writing, but I want to do more speaking. I want to do more events, and I love doing that kind of stuff. And the book is that final credibility builder, right? And and I'm so silly with this whole goofy thing that I'm glad it's ready. I'm glad it's in the formatting stage. I mean, like you said, by the time this drops, it'll be out or very shortly thereafter. I'm already a few chapters into another book. I probably can see myself in the process of writing or publishing a book, maybe the rest of my life, maybe.
Very cool.
So that was the very long version of that.
Well, and that's a great answer. And I have to tell you, you gave me a little bit of a sneak peek at the book, and I appreciated that. And I agree. You did a great job of honoring your father. That came out real strong. And yet there's a lot of good, helpful information in there. So I think it's cool. Well,
oh, sorry, Todd. I was just curious before we dive, not to give the whole book away, and we're going to get into some more of your career and sales here. But I'm just curious, can you share a lesson or two from your dad that have had the greatest impact on the 50 years thereafter in your career specifically?
Sure. And probably I'll jump to chapter 2 because, and I'll try to make this short and succinct as I can. I was probably 8, 9 years old and, no, I was 12 years old, excuse me. And we were planting corn on the farm. Dinner bell rang. Dinner bell meant we needed to run up to the house. There's no cell phones back in that day. We're planting the seed by horse and bug. No, I'm just kidding. But Todd always established I'm old. So, but we jumped in the pickup, drove up the house. My dad at the time was farming and selling Pioneer brand seed corn. He had a customer call, rain's coming in. Everybody's trying to get planted. And Walt, about 12 miles away, needed some corn and wondered if we could bring some over because he's trying to get finished. Dad says, well, drive the pickup, son, out to the shed. And we went out to the Butler shed, and we always called it the Butler shed because it was a Butler shed. It was made by Butler. We weren't real smart back in the day. And anyway, we loaded up the seeds. He got his little order pad, wrote it out, and we jumped in. And I remember he let me drive down the gravel roads. until we hit the Tarvey. That's what we used to call it, was Tarvey. I don't know, Todd, did you call it Tarvey in Ohio?
We did
Tarvey,
not, no.
We had, in Michigan, we call it the Tarvey roads. No idea where that came from. So, and I didn't care enough to research that to put it in the book. So if you're looking in the book to find out Tarvey, don't bother. Go chat with ChatGTP, because I did not. But so we get there. Long story short, find Walt down the back lane, delivery seeds, rain still kind of coming. We get in the truck, and I'm driving again 12, but back in the day. And I said to my dad, I said, why did we had to get our seeds planted? And the rain's coming, and why did we do this? He goes, son, he says, when Walt gave us the honor of doing business with us, we promised him that we'd do everything we could to make sure that was the right decision. When Walt called, we just respond. Whether that hurts us or not, in the long run, it's the better route to go. And he went on a few more, and I always got with my dad. He was a quiet guy, but he would always do the look over at you and go, you understand, son? Yes. Really? There's more lessons coming, because there's always one more. But so that whole ride home was talking about doing that right thing for your customer, regardless of whether it causes you a little pain point right now or not. And so that's just one of many lessons that I learned from Dad. And that's in chapter 2. The first one, I won't get into it as much because somebody's got to read the book. I got to sell one of them at least. Talk about being out in bean field and pulling milkweed after we just got done cultivating, and my not understanding why we would be doing that when we just cultivated. And there's a story behind that too. But yeah, so it was that was probably one of my more memorable stories, and obviously it's been pushing high 50s in years since that date, and it's still fresh in my memory. I mean, I can still smell the smell of the seeds and the fertilizer when I tell the story, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
cool stuff. Yeah, those things stick with you a long time. That's for sure. Well, I know you've alluded to it, and you talk about in your book about being hybrid Randy. Tell us a little bit about that pivotal point. Has that been one of the most pivotal points in your career, and what does that mean?
Okay. Yes, to answer your question, incredibly pivotable.
Hey, that works. Either one
You'd
works.
almost think I did podcasts now and then myself, but apparently not. Not very good. So I was the atypical road warrior, pounding the roads, pounding the airport, customer after customer, bro hugs and brewskis and burgers in the evening with customers, and pizza pie lunches, and building relationships one step at a time, one customer at a time for years. Juiced, loved it beyond compare, and still do. But when COVID hit, we hit that lockdown stage, right? Couldn't travel. And in my mind, when we first heard the 2 weeks to flatten the curve thing, I believed that like everybody did. But 2 weeks still seemed like forever when you're traveling. When we hit that lockdown, I was on 11 out of 12 weeks of 5 to 6 days on the road. There's a moment of a little downtime. What the heck? Nobody else will travel either. I'll enjoy this. But I also started going, what if it's longer? And I had started developing in my head this idea, guys, that maybe there's a better way, not a different but better way to do this. And I didn't know what it was. And I would have fallen prey, I'm going to guarantee you probably, to the old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Without COVID, I probably would have continued to do what I always did. But COVID forced me to start reevaluating how I did things. So I dove all in. I had nothing else to do. I'm not traveling, and me being at home is an oddity at that point, right? I don't know what to do at this time. So I started doing some webinars. I've done on a bunch of other podcasts, joined a mastermind group where we literally had to do 2 or 3 videos a day to everybody in the group, get used to a new way of doing things. Fast forward through all of some of the stuff, and we can always go back to anything if you want in particular, but 30,000 foot view, I really started digging this new virtual way of doing things. And at some point appeared like we may be doing this for a long time, which we were. I mean, 1.5 years, right? At least of once in a while you could travel for a little bit, and then we got yanked back again and all those things. So I started figuring out virtual. I started figuring out doing a podcast, guesting on podcasts, social media. And you can be in front of and see thousands of people today as opposed to 3 or 4 if you're on the road, right? And so that made a lot of sense to me. But then where the hybrid came from, Todd and Seth, was that there's 2 schools of thought that developed. There was the old school guys that everything I did, they thought I was nuts. And some of them probably still do. And they may be right, but still, that we're just going to wait till this is over, whatever time it takes, and we're going to go back 100% to the old school. We're not going to do any of this sending videos and social media garbage and getting on podcasts. That's just dumb. We're not doing any of that stuff. But then there was the other side that literally their theory was nobody's ever going to get on an airplane in New York City and fly to Dallas and do a meeting today and fly back this evening in time for dinner with the wife and kids. Never again. Everybody's going to be sitting with their pajamas or their shorts on, throw a polo shirt or a sport coat on, and jump in front of the camera, and that's going to be it. And I called BS on that too. I didn't buy that for a minute because, again, what we said earlier, right, Seth, was people to people still. You still got to be with them. So that's where the hybrid, and it comes from, back to my dad again, Pioneer Seeds was called Pioneer Hybrid Seed Corn. Because they took seed corn and depending on what part of the country and the time, how much time frame you had, what length of season, was it dry, was it wet climate, and you hybrided, right? Different seed. So I'm thinking hybrid makes sense to me. How do we take old? How do we take new and not do one or the other, but do them both, augment each other, and do them in synchrony with each other? You in and out, you in and out, you in and out all day long. And some days will be more old school, some days will be more virtual, some days will be combinations thereof. So that's where that's for me where hybrid came from, is trying to take both of those worlds and bring them together in a way that makes some sense. And the key to that is doing it, and I'm speaking to the choir with you guys, but doing that in a way that is still genuine and authentic to your customer or your potential customer. So in other words, the 3 of us are here talking. People are going to watch this. If they never met us, they better see the exact same person 3 weeks after they watch this program, this podcast, if we walk in their door, right? They better see the same person as far as how we act, how we speak, how we think. Because if you get disingenuous with you're this podcast personality or you're this social media personality, that's totally different either way, that you just look disingenuous, you look like a liar. I mean, to be brutally honest, right? Which one is you? So now which one do I trust? Or do I trust you at all? I think I'll opt for not trusting you at all, right? So that's the, again, relatively long story of how I got to the hybrid thing and what it means to me.
Very good stuff. Well, you have certainly captured and done it extremely well. We've touched on a couple times already about the importance of building relationships in sales and what that means. Do you think that is what really separates, let's say, the ho-hum reps from the really good superior reps in our industry? Or is there something else also that makes that difference?
Well, I think that's a big part of it. I think that I've talked about this before with people, and I think if you're honest in sales and you do good in sales, that one of the turning points is when you stop selling and start serving. And then there's a million books wrote about that. There's a million podcast speakers and speakers. So it's not like that's a new, I can't claim any of that. But when you stop selling and you start serving, you start finding solutions, you start interviewing and listening with the purpose of, I'm going to develop a relationship with you to see if this even makes sense for us to do business together. Can I help you? Are you the right customer for me? Is this going to work or not? And what's the issues and the problems that you have that we can help you with? Because we all know that one nasty, naughty word in sales for a rep is when you get dragged into that awful, awful T word called transactional, right? We always lose in transactions. And I've said it before. So, well, how do you get paid if you don't have a transaction? I said, okay, step it up a level here and listen to me. I'm not saying, yes, the cash register has to ring someday, right? But if it's all transactional, what that really means, my book, is the deep dive down the rabbit hole of price, right? Forget about service, forget about quality, forget about relation. We just want price. None of us in the world of sales win that game. And I think equally, I would say to people on the buying side, is don't let your rep take you down that road either, because you're a transaction to them. Don't allow them to get commission breath, right? And not care about what you want or need just to get the sale and get out the door. And I think, as what you guys teach a lot, and I've been blessed to set in on some of your seminars in the past, even in-home sales and one day close, if you will, sometimes gets a bad rap, because I don't think that means I'm going to sell you regardless of whether you need it or not. And I'm going to hammer you into the ground with a gun to your head until you buy. And like the old encyclopedia salesman that years ago I bought from just so he'd leave, and then canceled it the next day because I just couldn't figure out how to get rid of him, right? That does us no good, right? So I think that if we understand, if we sell people like we want to be sold, and if you listen to people and ask enough questions, almost every customer will tell you how to sell them, right? If you listen and you ask the questions. And I think it's not so much of, I think that's changed today. Maybe you guys will agree or disagree, but I feel like it's changed today to where people want to be treated with respect. They want to be counseled. They want to be taught. They want to be educated. And you can't dazzle them with BS either, because with the internet, I'm sorry, they probably know almost as much as you do if they're a smart consumer, right? So don't start down that road of there's this thing that I'm pretty good at, luckily, because I'm not that smart, is I don't know. I'll find out. But when I was a younger sales guy, I didn't think you could do that. I had to be the guy that knew it all. And I would like to think, I don't believe that I ever knowingly knew it wasn't true and just lied about it. But I took a lot of freedom with that, right? Because as a young guy, you didn't know any better, and that's the way you was trained, and that's the way you was taught. And boy, if they think I don't know everything, well, they're not going to have confidence in me and buy. They'll have a lot more confidence in you if you just say, you know what, that one stumped me, Todd. I think I know the answer, but let me make a quick phone call, or let me call you back in the morning, or whatever that has to look like. You just gain a massive amount of credibility, in my opinion. Seth, do you agree with that? I mean, I just.
Oh, absolutely. And even, we've had some experience with reps that even if they're not going to give you the incorrect answer, outright lie about something, they'll just talk without saying anything, hoping that you forget what you asked in the first place. So there's all sorts of strategies around it, but it just being transparent and upfront with people. And then it proves to them, like you said, that you can be that problem solver in their corner, no matter what, someone they can trust, someone that knows how to get something done. Absolutely love it. And it goes way beyond that transactional sort of trap that you mentioned, which you do an incredible job of. And especially we're talking about this hybrid world that we're in with these virtual and digital tools. I think that trap is even bigger for some than what it ever was before, of just hiding behind email or hiding behind, trading voicemails back and forth or text. And so finding that sweet spot to really rise above and be that serving partner, trusted advisor, whatever your language is going to be for it. It's powerful.
It is powerful. It is powerful. And the beautiful thing with, if you do it right, in my opinion, using the new school side of things, it'll put you in front of more people. Because the old saying, people buy, if all things being equal, buy from the know, like, and trust, right? Good friend of mine, Ben Gay III, also adds and feel safe with. And I think that's an incredible thing, because I may know you and like you and trust you, but what happens if something goes awry on this thing? Do I feel safe that Randy or Todd or Seth is going to swoop in here like Superman and help me, may not leave me out here on an island by myself, right? And the beautiful thing with technology that we can use is, if it's a new customer, they get to know who you are. They get to understand that you like to go watch your grandkids play baseball, or they know you as a person, not just some person that they can buy stuff from. Because there's a lot of people you can buy stuff from, but they want to get to know you and trust you. And So that's for a potential customer. I think it's equally important for a customer that has already purchased, because all that does is augment that decision, or that decision was good, right? Because they've already just spent $42,000 with you. They're still waiting for the job to be completed. But boy, am I glad I bought from Todd, because man, I just saw him doing this and saw him doing that. I saw Seth doing this. And these guys are good dudes. I feel good about this, right? So I think it goes further to cement that buyer decision after the fact, not just before the fact.
Absolutely. It's when they see you running the additional seed down the road before the rain comes, that's when it gets cemented all the further.
Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff.
I'm curious, Randy, we're talking about your transition from the salesperson perspective. What was your experience with your customers having to transition to this sort of new way also? Was everyone readily accepting? Was any more difficult than others, or what was that experience like?
Oh, it was across the board. It was I had, at the time when nobody traveled, there was no other option.
Sure.
The work came into play, Seth, when you were back out traveling, and that became the norm again. So many people that they're used to calling on them went back to normal. I didn't stop doing what I did. I went back to calling on customers. I traveled all the time. But I augment in between, or I'm doing a quick video from the hotel parking lot with coffee on the hood of my car, be heading out for the day. What cool socks am I wearing for the day, right? I'm still doing those things, but I'm doing it while I'm on the road. And so, but to answer your question, some customers didn't respond, not I'll say negatively, but just not at all for a while. But more and more of them started seeing and started doing it in their own businesses and started understanding that. And I'm not saying I take credit for that. I'm just saying that they started seeing these things happen and understand that, a statement that I like to make, because I think it's very accurate, is you go back probably longer years now than I'm thinking, but 10, 15 years, let's just use. If you didn't have if you didn't have a website, you didn't exist, right? You just didn't exist to a lot of people. Still need a website today, but in today's world, if they can't find you on social media, if they can't find you virtually, to a lot of people, you don't exist. And the problem that comes into play there is people my age. I'm on social all the time. I'm probably a bit of an anomaly to that standpoint, maybe, but I don't think as much as you think. But that's my first go-to. Is I want to see if you're on LinkedIn. I want to see if you got a Facebook presence. I want to see if you did a reel or whatever, and get to know you. And so I think we've really come full circle with businesses across the board, understanding that the value there is, again, I've said it a million times, is not an instead of, but an addition to. I would never say that anything falling under the new school, the virtual, the digital, the new age, whatever phrase you want to give it, has nothing to do with not doing the other. And it has to do with, but also to give you an example where it comes into play with people that travel big distances like I do. If I've got a guy and calls in, kind of has an interest in Maine, that's a long ways from either Michigan when I'm there or from Florida where I'm at still right now. In my old school days, Mr. Energetic and aggressive and probably not real smart, I'd just drive or jump on a plane and go spend $2,000 on a trip to go see a guy that you find out can't really buy from you anyway, or has no interest in buy, or maybe you can't sell. So using technology, the Zoom and the Teams or the Google Meets or whatever, to discover, to do the discovery call sometimes, sitting here like this, finding out in 15, 20 minutes, get to know each other a little bit. What are you looking at? Here's a couple of things we probably should talk about. It goes a long ways of you not wasting your time by coming all the way to Maine, and my not wasting time and money coming all the way to Maine to find out that this is never going to work. And secondarily with that, as I kind of hit on earlier, if I do come to Maine, because it makes sense, you already know me and I already know you. We've got that initial uncomfortable for some. I mean, for us guys, it's done a long time. I find no discomfort in meeting new people. But some people, that's an uncomfortable thing. And for customers, it may be. But they already know you. They've talked to you. They probably in the interim, before the 2 weeks before you flew to Maine, in that little example, may have followed a couple posts that I did. They may have caught a video or caught a podcast I did or was guesting on. So all of a sudden it's like, geez, I know this Randy guy, right? You're light years ahead of where you were starting the old way. But the key there, still did it the old way though. At the end of the day, I'm still shaking hands. Good to see you. You had a good meeting. You go grab a burger and you give them a bro hug at the end of the day. Hey, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. I'll get back. Right? It's still that. You never get rid of that.
Good stuff. Well, we've talked a lot about how you do it. Maybe for an audience member out there who isn't real familiar with you, tell us a little bit about your core business today, the lines that you rep and sell, who your typical customer is, that type of thing.
Sure. So I'm a rep agency. Source One Marketing is my rep agency, and we rep predominantly in the metal roofing and post-frame building world. I am doing a few things in the steep slope world for one of my manufacturers, but so I rep products. My target customer would be the roll former, the metal roll formers that roll metal, whether they're standing seam guys or the ag panel, R panel, whatever that case may be. That would be my target panel or audience, if you will, customer. Fasteners and underlayments, which I'm blessed to sell some underlayment for you folks, vents, a barn door components and stuff for the ag world, some equestrian products, bubble foil installations, a lot of those kind of things. So that's really my core business. I cover for the bulk of my world is the Great Lakes in the Northeast. I do a little bit in Florida with a couple lines. I have a couple of renegade lines, which are sort of non-territorial, where I just kind of, if I know somebody, the manufacturer's renting my Rolodex, if you will. If I know somebody and there's nobody selling and I got a relationship, I'll work with them. But my core group is some Florida, but really Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, New York State, and up in the New England states. So, it's I've been with some of these manufacturers 25 years.
That's impressive.
Or they just haven't got tired of me yet. I'm not sure.
Well, as a manufacturer that's worked with you for almost 25 years, we can definitely say it's the former. So you've done a great job for us. And if you're looking for some the premium underlayments on the market, you can call Randy and talk to him about roof AquaGuard underlayments. So
I'll tell you what, it's world class stuff. I'm glad. I love the way you snuck that little promo in there. That's promo. You'd almost think you'd done this before. That's amazing.
Well, as a manufacturer who's always trying to, improve our strategy and respond to the changing world around us, and, you are working with, 20 plus manufacturers probably at this point and know many others. I'm curious, what are some things that you've seen manufacturers do really well? We don't need to name any names necessarily, but, as you're working with all those folks, what are some things that the ones who are really responding well to this new world around them, and what opportunities do you see for manufacturers to keep improving on what they're doing in their go-to-market?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. And this one's it's probably used a lot, but it's never adhered to, is becoming customer-centric. There's so many manufacturers that still believe that we make widgets, whatever that widget is. Yes, of course you make a widget, but that's not really what you do. What you really do is perform a service and supply a solution for whoever your customer base is. And if we have to get away from I just make stuff and I'm going to supply you whatever stuff I make under my rules all the time, and either you live with it or don't, because you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with Jeffrey Gitomer, and great writer. I've followed everything he's done for years, and I love one of his statements he said once about, when people say, "Well, but it's our policy." Okay, we all have to have policy. So before anybody gets nuts, I'm not saying it's freebie in the bean here, right? And we can just do what we want. There has to be some procedures. I'm not saying that, but shouldn't the policy be, what is your issue, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer? If you have an issue or a problem or something that is not within our policy, can we find a way to make this good for you, to make this work for you? And Because like Jeffrey said once, I listened to him, he says, because here's the deal. Your policy is this. My policy is to not pull out my credit card and buy product from you. And my policy wins. Right? I mean,
Right,
it's as simple as that. Again, not saying you don't you can't be a company that has no policies, no procedures. There's got to be base. But I think we lose sight sometimes as manufacturers of being customer centric, of realizing that customers always have choices, regardless of how good we think we are, regardless of how good our product is, how great a dog and pony, and I know all three of us on here do as good a dog and pony show with a customer as anybody in the country. I can talk all day about all the 1,015 different reasons why my fastener is better than everybody else's in the world. And after the first one, you don't care. I mean, at the end of the day, right? It goes deeper than that. Because guess what? Every fastener in America, if installed properly, will hold the roof on and it won't fail. Right. So I don't have a monopoly on that. Right. So let's not stop pretending we do. And the thing, and I tell anybody that'll listen that are reps or sales guys, is always operate under U Incorporated. Right. Because even if you're a company guy, myself, it's easier as a rep because I kind of run my own gig under rules and regulations that people like yourselves put out there. Right. I don't get to do what I want to do. But my point is, even if you're a company guy, an employee, you got to operate like this is your business. And if you go to your customers with the standpoint that this is a repeat customer and I'm going to get repeat business, I'm going to get referrals, but I'm only going to get any of that if I actually do what I say I'll do, take care of them, and treat them like with the respect and that they deserve and desire, and be honest, should have. Because guess what? They have choices. All day long, they have choices. And again, circling back real quick, if we think, well, they'll never leave us because we make the best widget. Oh, yeah, they'll leave you real fast. If you don't take care of them, because you know what? Here's the breaking news, right? And we need the CNN or Fox News banner here. Breaking news. There are some less than quality products in any industry, right? But for most anybody in our industries that are been around and have established themselves, it's going to work. It's not junk, okay? So the customer does have choices. And the key is, as a manufacturer or as the rep for that manufacturer, salesperson, whatever your title is, if this is a key thing that I try to follow, is if you buy Randy, there's just one thing in the world of 8.5 billion people that I'm better than everybody. Number one is being me. You can't beat me at that one. I guarantee you can't beat me at that one. Right? So if you can get to a point where I'm your guy, you trust me, you believe in me. Now I can do a lot of things that mess that up, but if I don't mess that up, that gives you a lot of, it buys you a lot of leeway on when things go awry a little bit. I know this messed up is not your fault, but can you fix it, please? I know you will. So I think that's the thing is circling back to your original question, I think we've lost, in a lot of cases, remembering the why. And if we don't have a customer, they're not a nuisance to us. We open the door every day for one reason and one reason only. If you get right down to it, it's to service that customer with the best product and the best service at the most fair price. And fair is an operative word, right? Fair, because we both have to make profit. And guess what? That's not a bad word. So I think if we do that, we'll be successful. If we don't, you're going to struggle.
Absolutely. At no time in history did customers have more alternatives, viable alternatives, than they have today, at least for most of us. So.
Exactly. And I think about that alternative because I remember one time traveling with a guy and he kept wanting to get a Dairy Queen Blizzard about every 4.5, 5 miles. And we got off one exit because we figured out of the 412 fast food places, there had to be a Dairy Queen, right? We didn't find one, but we did find a Frosty Blizzard or a Wendy's Frosty. But again, we had choices, right? And the fact that Wendy's did such a good job of promoting the fact that they're pretty tasty too. We didn't get back on the turnpike and drive on another 80 miles to find and checking Google, trying to figure out where a Dairy Queen was. We just made a choice to have a Wendy's Frosty. So
the alternative most readily available to solve your problem at that moment. So we've got to position ourselves to be that Wendy's Frosty, no question.
exactly.
Looking at it from the other end of the equation on that customer perspective, curious for those customers who are out there, whatever customer may be, contractor, supplier, roll former, any customer trying to take a more proactive approach to finding suppliers or vetting suppliers rather than, relying on serendipitous sort of engagements or opportunities. What's your advice for them?
10 shows. And when I say attend shows, I mean really engage in attending shows, not just show up and go, oh, show's open. They just cut the ribbon. I guess I'll go wander around. Have a plan. Set up some plans ahead of time with people you want to meet. Make the best out of shows, because that's some of the best times to easily meet not only your rep who may be there, but he can introduce you to the customer service manager, the CEO, the director of sales, whomever that may be. And really be able to do a little bit of a deep dive into the services and the products and what they can do for you. And the beautiful thing with that, Seth, is you could find that information in today's world on the internet someplace, right? All of us do a great job. I mean, I can find everything I want to find about most things from a product standpoint, but I get to touch it, feel it, if you're the contractor. But more importantly, I get to meet the people behind the scenes, because the only person I may ever see is my rep. Now I get to meet some of the other people, but more important than that, I think, is if you build a relationship with this manufacturer as a builder, it's important that the Todd or Seths of the world know you as well, because if you need something, there's a special deal, an issue, a large project, an emergency something that went awry, it's way better if they call in, or Randy in my case calls us and says, Seth, I got this customer, and man, we just dropped the ball on this. It's a bad deal right now. And who is it? Oh yeah, I remember meeting him last year at the IRE, right? We'd all like to say that doesn't matter, but it does matter, right? Because you've built that relationship. So I think for the attendees, I love that subject. It's easy for us all to think about trade shows, and it's all on the rep's responsibility. And there's a lot of that, because that's what we're there for as an exhibitor. But you have an equal responsibility, in my mind, as an attendee. If you get out of the show what you put into it. So meet the right people, have a plan, and make it worthwhile, because there's plenty of time to go get Wendy Frosties, or plenty of time to go get a burger and a beer with the boys. You can do it at the show, but don't do it instead of spending that time making those communications, because you just spent $2,000, $3,000 to go to Vegas. You probably ought to do something besides gambling and hitting the hotel lobby bar at 2:00. That's all I'm saying. Not that I'm against that. I'm just saying there probably should be some other things you might want to do while you're there. And again, you'll get out of what you give.
I think that's great advice. And I agree with you. I think, I see people attend these shows and, they just don't really put into it to get out of it what they can. So that's fantastic advice. Well, I'm curious, Randy, and I know you're a guy who's always reading and you're talking, and you've got a lot of connections. Who do you find inspiration from these days? Who are you paying attention to and learning from?
Well, I love that question. Of course, you guys, and I got to say that not just because you're on here, but you guys are doing it right. And for anybody that watches you guys and deal with you guys, Isaiah's top notch. And I enjoy being around people that do things the right way. But I mentioned one name earlier, a guy that's become very important to me, Ben Gay III. I've become a good friend. He actually wrote the foreword for my book, which is kind of cool. And Todd, you were so kind to write some kind words of endorsement or praise for the book, which I assume you didn't read it, because if you read it, you wouldn't have said anything nice. Probably.
No, I absolutely read it.
But I appreciate that. But the one thing that I found, and I'm going to come at this a slight different angle, since I love networking as you well know, we do. We all three of us are networkers. I love networking. I love networking within the industry that we all live and breathe and work and hugely important. And we do that if you have any involvement in the industry, you probably got a bit of common sense that tells you I probably should network within the industry. But I also find within any industry, there's group speak, right? We all think a little bit alike on subjects. There's outer parameters, but there's that certain group thing. The one of the great blessings that I've had in the last several years doing what I've been doing, more social media stuff, podcasting, hosting, guesting, is I've got to meet so many people out of the industry. They have nothing to do with my industry at all. I can name a couple. Lieutenant Colonel Oak McCullough. Oak's out of Daytona, Florida. He was a lieutenant colonel of the Army 1st Cav, led troops into battle, trained troops, leadership. Leadership, like he talks about. He makes mistakes. Now, he's out now, but when people died, 18, 19-year-old kids died. Leadership in our world, we forgot to ship a roll of underlayment. I mean, it sucked, but nobody's dying over it, right? So, he brings a great perspective on leadership, and he made a statement once that when lieutenants graduate from the academy, the first thing they do is they throw their hat in the air, and he goes, celebrate, go have a couple beers, do what you want to do. It's all about you today, because this is the last day of your life that it's about you. It's always about your people. After today, but today, go enjoy. You earned it. But after today, it's never about you again, ever in your life. He says, I have a responsibility to you. You may report to me 8 ranks below me, but I work for you. I have a responsibility to teach you, to train you, to guide you, to protect you, right? So he's a guy that's, and another guy, Dave Sanderson. I'll just give you 2. Dave's another guy out of the industry. Dave is an international speaker, swims with the seals, not that kind of seal. I was going to do the seal noise, but that might have been too much. It sounded like a walrus anyway. So, but with the Navy SEALs, he became most well known when Sully had to put the flight into the East River. He was the last guy off the plane with Sully and the first officer, and he talks about that whole event and what happened. And he wrote several books, but one of the books that I love, and Dave's become a good friend, Moments in Time, says nobody ever knows when that moment in time will come, but your whole life is preparing you for that moment in time. His moment in time there was, guys, you don't live through that. When that's going into the river, we're going in the river, we're dead. I mean, you don't, that's an unsurvivable, basically. But they did. And his comment was, and he would say it way better because he lived it, is that I couldn't just get off this plane and rush out the exit to safety. I needed to make sure everybody else got out too, ahead of me, because I was here for a reason. I mean, I should have been dead. I got a new day here, right? And that was his moment in time. And so now he travels the world speaking about that and talking about that. So that's just 2 people that I follow a lot, that are really, really, really good people. But like I said, I'm meeting a guy next week in Pennsylvania that I've got to know, Rob Anspaugh. He's Anspaugh Media. He writes a lot of books. He does a lot of marketing. Become a friend. Never met him personally. Going to next week. I really, really try to, since some of the things that I've been doing in the last 5 or 6 years that we've talked about here, that I talk about in the book, I go out of my way to try to meet up with people that I've met virtually, that I've never known before. And I'll tell you, one of the things I talk about in the book about how if you do this right, when you walk in and you meet them, it's like it's old buddy. It's like you knew him forever, right? And that's been so true. I've met so many of these people. When Wes, my producer, director, buddy, and pal, who you guys know because you've been on my podcast, met Ben Gay and his wife Gigi out in Sacramento a couple of years ago. He walks in the door, and it was not like, I wonder where Randy is or I wonder where Ben is. The second he walked in the door, we knew each other, right? Because we've talked 10 times virtually or 50 times virtually and talked on the phone and communicated. So I think that's one of the winding back to, I don't know if it's a starting point, but the beauty of virtual and the beauty of taking advantage of these opportunities we have, whether you like it or not, virtual's here. Whether you like social media, it's here. Is there bad things? Absolutely. There's bad things in everything. If you do use it for the right reasons, it's like with AI. I use AI all the time for stuff because you can hate it. You can be scared of it. It may end up we're all don't exist someday. And it's just, I don't know what it is. We're a bunch of little things wandering around like a pop can. I don't know what we'll be. I can't change that. So all I can do is use what I have to my benefit. And so when I get an opportunity to meet people in or out of the industry, I go out of my way to do that. And I would challenge anybody to do that. You don't work or you shouldn't work or live in a vacuum. You know, we're people. And in today's world, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny little world now, right? Yeah, we had on a great guest a couple of weeks ago for the return guest, David Rogers from the UK, 2-time author, speaker, TEDx guy. And no, I've never met Dave yet because I really get to UK for any reason. But if I do, I guarantee you we'll meet up somehow. So anyways, that's the key to that is just meet people, go out and see them, get to know them, learn their life, have a new friend.
Great advice, Randy, and it's been a great talk and rambunctious time together. I've enjoyed it. I'm curious, though, is there anything you haven't shared? And give a shout out to your own podcast and some of your social media you're doing out there.
Thank you. No, we've covered everything. I mean, it was a great time. My website is ibuyfromrandy.com. My book will be available on there if somebody was silly enough to want a signed copy. It'll be on Amazon. It'll be a Kindle, a soft cover, and a hard copy. We'll do an audiobook at some point. That's probably down the road because I've decided I'm going to read it myself whenever I find time to do that. That won't be till fall though. So you can find me on Amazon under just Randy Chaffee or Asphalt and Algorithms. ibuyfromrandy.com, find the book, find anything to do with my agency. I'm all over social media in some shape or form of either Building Wins Live, which is my podcast. You can find me on YouTube and places for Let's Chat with Randy Chaffee, which is an industry-based YouTube channel. We're just kind of getting off the ground right now. And on social media, it's either Randy Chaffee or the Randy Chaffee or Randy Chaffee the Rep. Any of those things. But I've kind of played with it. I guess I'm messing with it enough. If you type my name in, it comes up. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm there. Communicate with me though. I love it. Don't just like stuff. Well, I want you to like stuff, like lots of stuff, but communicate. Say, hey, I mean, I enjoy talking to people, and I'll do my best to respond to anybody that reaches out.
Well, cool. Well, you are a huge asset to our industry, Randy, and we thank you for not only your friendship, but your service to our industry over the years. So thank you. Well, before we close out, I have to ask you if you're willing to participate in something we call our rapid fire questions. So these are 7 questions. Randy has no idea what we're going to ask. Some are serious, some are silly. Are you up to the challenge of rapid fire?
Well, let's give it a shot. I mean, hey, what's the worst I'll do is, I've looked stupid before, so and I'm pretty good at that.
Not at all. Let's do it. Seth, why don't you ask the first question?
All right, rapid fire question number 1. To make sure we include another of your favorite passions, can you recommend 1 or 2 of your favorite Michigan Reds for all of us?
Oh, there you go. Yes, Black Star Farms. Black Star Farms Cabernet. It's a pure cab wine. It's not a blend. Black Star Farms has a location on the Leelanau Peninsula and on Old Mission Peninsula, and top notch.
Fantastic.
Now you made me thirsty. Can we hurry this thing up?
Okay, question 2. What are your favorite and least favorite things about being a road warrior?
Favorite thing by far is I just love people. I just love people. That by far. I enjoy cementing the relationship. I enjoy bro hug and rubbing little Johnny's head when you see him when he comes running up and you haven't seen him in a year. Those kind of things on the road. That's my favorite by far. Least favorite. I don't have a lot of least favorites because I love it so much. I probably would say that over doing this for so many years, it gets a little less exciting to be gone as much. is what it used to. And I'll couch that with, I don't mind being gone. I don't look forward to it as much as I used to. But I get in the Uber to the airport and I'm back in road mode. I'm back in hybrid road warrior mode, somewhere between the house and the airport, which is 40 minutes. And once I hit that, I'm all in. Let's go. Rock and roll, baby.
It all kicks in. Good stuff.
All right. Question number 3. What is a product or service you have bought that was a real game changer for you?
Probably Chat GTP. We touched on that. I'm a big lover of AI. I'm not afraid of it. I don't know. And I'm a novice still. But the speed that it allows me to do things, I never use it to write articles. Let me back off. I will use it to fix stupid, right? Which is a lot. but I would never sit and just write an article using, for a trade magazine or a book chapter. Or like for blogging. If I want to write a blog, can't think of what do I want to write about. I'll say, give me 20 things, and I'll go, no, maybe, no. That's the one. So that's probably, there's a lot, but that's the first one that comes to mind, Seth.
Very cool.
Good stuff. I think it's a great tool also. Next question. What is your personal theme song at this point in your life?
Wow.
That might be a hard one if you've never thought of it.
I've never thought of it. Okay, how about this one? I'll go with this one. I'm a Believer by either Neil Diamond or the Monkees.
Yeah.
Not even so much the words, because I'll be honest with you about music. I would be the worst. I know no words to any song.
I'm right there with you.
But I like the theme of I'm a believer. I think you got to be a believer. If you're not a believer and you don't have dreams and want to chase your dreams, I'm not sure what you got, but you're missing out on a lot. So I like Neil Diamond's version better. Just
awesome. Good stuff. What is one thing that you wish everyone in our industry was better at?
Oh, yeah, that's easy. We've touched on that. Is being an adapter. We kind of touched on, but not as much as I probably do in the book. But I've adapted a lot, and that's a lot of the nature of the book. But adapting is one thing, but developing an adapter mindset is a whole different thing. And once you develop the mindset that I'm just an adapter, and forget about this, it's not easy. None of us like change on certain things, but if you anticipate it, you realize it's going to happen, and you look at it with, there's 3 words that depending how you say them changes everything, is why can't I or why I can't. Too many people instantly, why I can't do that, why I can't do this, why this product won't work, instead of, well, why can't it? With a question mark, why can't it? Maybe it can. Let's find out. So I think being an adapter is by far the most important thing.
Okay, next to last question. If you had a time machine, what time and place would you like to visit?
I assume I can go either direction.
Absolutely.
I think the future's still there, so I'll just let that play out. I probably would go back to, and I'm thinking about, again, what we talked about earlier. I'd probably go back to my, maybe 50, about 1960. Interesting music time in the 60s, right? All from the war music and all that. But it was good music, good old rock and roll music back in the day. But more than that, seriously touching on what I talked about earlier, is if I could go back, that means I've already been here, which means I know what I know now, and I'd go back and try to be a bit of a better son and let my dad know that what he was talking about was, that's pretty good stuff, dude, as opposed to having to wait till I go see him again someday, right?
Beautiful. And last one, what do you wish to be remembered for at the end of your days?
Probably just as a guy that just cared about people, did want to do what's right for everybody, whether it's family, whether it's customers, whether it's manufacturer friends, whether it's just friends in general, or even people that aren't necessarily friends, but I really try to practice. I haven't always been good at this, and I'm still not always. You get into your own mind sometimes, and you got to get out of it. But what reminds me is I walk into Publix, which is our local supermarket chain that we all go to here in Florida, and so many times you walk in and everybody's walking with their head down. You're living in Florida. It's sunny and hot all the time. And what do you got to be so down about, right? But it's amazing when you just say, hey, how are you today, ma'am? Oh, I'm really good. How are you? Thank you. It's like changes their whole atmosphere. even if it's only for another 45 seconds while they get to their car. And maybe I'd like to think they get in their car for a minute and they go, wow, that was a nice man. That made me feel good. So I think I try to leave people with a good feeling. Because we're all in this, big world together, right? So
You do a great job at that. You really do. Thank you.
I like people, unless I don't. There's a couple. I mean, let's be fair. I'm not perfect, right? We all know there's only one perfect dude, and that ain't me. So I'm not even close to trying. But I think that even those people, I try to do better understanding that some of that's not, maybe who knows what they're going through. What's their story, And so, anyways, that's it. We'll see. Doing the best we can, right?
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you again for your time today. We'll put this in the show notes, but again, shout off a couple of your websites and places where people can find you.
I'll buy from Randy.com because why wouldn't you, right?
Absolutely. Love that.
The home, if we ain't got it, you don't need it. It's a funny story how that was one day, but basically anywhere on social media, just find me under Randy Chaffee or some derivative thereof. And remember the name of the book, Asphalt and Algorithms, which, by the way, I think originally that title, we had a title change at the end.
Yes, you absolutely did.
And real important, but that was going to be My Journey to Hybrid, which we kind of put in the subtitle.
Mm-hmm.
But important, the key to that, it's probably a great place to end. It's your show. But I was sold on that. I was married to my title. But a key thing is I hired an editor, and I hired the marketing and formatting and book cover people to work with me. And they set me down one day and said, we know you're married to it and you're not going to like this conversation, but basically I said, you think my title sucks, right? I said, well, not really sucks, but we don't like it. And they gave me, which we don't need to go into, but they gave me reasons why from a marketing standpoint, they didn't like it. I said, so, well, what do you want? What do you think? And they told it to me and I go, you're nuts. Asphalt. Now, what does that mean? That's dumb. I said, think about it and we'll do this in 2 days. I called him up that evening. Said, we don't need to do it in 2 days. Said, well, we got to go back to the drawing board. I said, no, I'm in. So my point of all that is when you hire good people that you trust, it's something you got to listen to them.
Yep.
Because they know more about marketing books than I do, right?
They're experts in their field for a reason.
Exactly. So anyway, but I appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate your friendship and all that you guys do together, just as people and as Isaiah Industries. And it's been a blast being on. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to chat about my book. And I'd love to have anybody want to come out to get it. Not because I just want to sell a whole bunch of books, even though I do. I'm not a liar. But with that said, I feel like there's something there that maybe a little bit of help to somebody here and there. So, or I wouldn't have wrote it because I had a lot to do. I didn't have the year and a half spent to do this. But I took it because it just felt like the right thing I wanted to do. So,
well, absolutely. We encourage everyone check out Asphalt and Algorithms, soon available. Well, Randy, thank you very much. It's been a great time together. We appreciate it. Great deal.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
And I have to ask, I know I got my challenge word in. Randy, you got yours in. Your challenge word, Randy, was?
A Wendy's Frosty.
You did it a couple times.
I did.
I got mine in, which was rambunctious. Seth, did you get yours in?
I did. Serendipitous.
You did it so well, I didn't even catch it, which is the goal. That's
he did.
Great.
He stuck it right in there. That was well done.
Serendipitously, you got it in there. Thank you.
There you go.
I'm just amazed that when I gave you that word pre-show that I said it right, because that's one of those words that's hard for me to say.
I was worried about it too.
Well, and it's really, and Seth, it's really hard to say after a couple of Black Star Rapper days.
no doubt.
That S word. Oh, you know that one. Oh, good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, thank you to our audience for tuning into this episode of Construction Disruption with Randy Chaffee of Source One Marketing. Please watch for future episodes. We always have great guests. Don't forget to leave us a nice thumbs up or good review. And until the next time we're together, keep on disrupting, keep on challenging, looking for better ways of doing things. And don't forget, Randy touched on this earlier, to have a positive impact on everyone you encounter. So God bless and take care. This is Isaiah Industries signing off until the next episode of Construction Disruption.
This podcast is produced by Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building products.